race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup in scenic Tyrol of Austria. We're just outside the double Olympic city of Innsbruck in the village of Eagles. This is where they slid in 1964 on a natural track and in 1976 in the games on this artificial ice track, one of the oldest in Europe. Hey everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Canadian ice coach and team manager Graham Richardson. Graham, really tight women's race here, and the Germans, as ever, in the hunt for medals.
Yeah, it was a good first heat there. With the starts are close and the finishes are close, and we're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out of this on top.
Stephanie Schneider in third place, 600ths of a second off the lead. 100th behind Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka. Now, she's had 3 wins this year, could easily make it 4.
Yeah, she's fast starting, driving better and better each week, and obviously the Germans always with great material, so it's a formidable setup.
A day in hospital, a day of missed training, 2 training runs sitting in, much quicker ice on race day, and yet Alana Myers-Taylor of the USA is still our race leader. But the gaps are tiny, aren't they? So we could see a lot of changes in Heat 2. Yeah,
it's definitely going to come down to the hundreds. As we were saying, the Americans seem to go well here, and the BMW sets up well.
Well, the last 2 winners, Stephanie Schneider last year in the European Championships and Alana Myers-Taylor the year before. In fact, Alana has won 2 out of the last 4 seasons, and they are in our top 3. 3 wins so far this year out of 4 starts from Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic champion. Seems unable to stop winning right now, and they are the top 3, and it's maybe from those, and perhaps teammate Anakola, that win will come. Well, there's Mariama Yamanka with her brand new brakewoman, 18-year-old rookie Kira Lipperheider, who has started exactly 2 races in her life before now. So she has started bobsled after Christmas. Entertaining stuff. There's Alana Myers-Taylor just clearing all the snow off the sled. Sylvia Hoffman with her again, a newcomer to the programme this season. And this is kind of what happens in the post-Olympic cycle, isn't it? You get a whole new load of talent coming in to replace those that kind of hung on to the games and have now gone off to maybe have real life or a bit of a rest.
Yeah, and exactly. And you find the brakemen disappear as well. We tend to try and get the good brakemen into the driver's seat on year 1 of the quad.
Yeah. Give them a chance to find out whether or not A, they like it, B, they can do it, and then try and work them up to speed, which is where some of the names that we're used to seeing in Canadian bobsledding last year are. Well, Lana seems to be a little perkier now. I think she was very, very ropey early in the week. The coaches were really quite worried about her. Here's our start list for the second heat. There are 13 sleds, including for the first time in a long while, one from Australia. They'll be first off, Brianna Walker and Jamie Scroop, her brakewoman. Then the Belgians, Anne van Nieuwenhuis, Sarah Aerts, Misha McNeil of Great Britain, Andrea Grecu, 10th place after the first heat, then working up the order into what is a really tight group from Lubov Chernik and Nadezhda Sergeva all the way up to 4th place, Anakola. 13 sleds to go in the second heat of the women's bobsleigh in Innsbruck in Austria, and a World Cup debut for the Aussies. Brianna Walker, the driver, and Jamie Scroop, the brakewoman. 26-year-old Brianna from Melbourne and her 30-year-old brakewoman from Adelaide in South Australia. Their first ever World Cup race will be their final trip down the ice of the season.
Yeah, they're driving in a rented sled from Königssee. It's one of the Singer sleds, which Singer made under the auspices of the British team, who's working with them for a long time.
Well, Brianna has this season spent some time driving, some time pushing, and also driving in monobob. She won here in Eagles in the monobob races, so she's had 2 wins and a 3rd place in monobob. But this is her first ever World Cup start.
Yes, he's just being a little bit tentative on the exit of these corners, just hanging on to 5 a bit, hanging on to 9 a bit.
Well, it's a tiny team, her and 2 brakewomen, travelling Europe in it like the band of gypsies. I mean, proper old school bobsledding, is it? 53.91, a fraction slower than her first heat. Whoa, and save those runners, because they're rented as well. You don't want to send them back gouged up and end up with a bill next time you go to Königssee. But the Aussies are down and done. First World Cup race ever in their careers. And they're looking for a little bit more funding to try and expand the programme next year.
No, it's a great first race for Brie. She got the seat at this World Cup race because of her good results through the season, and it's great to see the Aussies back on the World Cup.
Yeah. And there's the words of a former Australian coach himself. We're just going down the list of the nations that Graham hasn't coached in his career. Astrid Lott-Wilkinson, I'm sure, will be trying to help the girls find a bit more money as well. Next up, Belgians, Anne van Nieuwenhuis and Sarah Ertz. And will be in the IBSF TV booth this afternoon to call the two-man race. And then she will be able to give us first-hand exactly what the ice is like. It was a little bit warmer, quite snowy in training. -9 this morning. The ice is like a mirror, very hard and fast. Let's see if she can get a grip on the sled this time. A couple of errors creeping into everybody's runs.
Yeah, Anne will admit herself, her start isn't fantastic, and normally her driving is what gives her the great positions at the end. Unfortunately, Eagles is a bit of a short track for her. She'd have to drive this perfectly, you know, to be able to get in the dance on this one.
All right, well, let's see what she's got. 800s behind the Aussies. The Aussies outstarted her by a fraction, and Anne only had 100th in hand over Brie Walker. Holds the pressure nicely. Nice line through the Kreisel and a great exit. Here we go. Bringing it back down to 300s behind.
Again, just back end sliding off 9. That'll cost her some time.
200s in front. Can she hold the speed through the labyrinth? This could be pretty close. We don't have a speed for the Aussie. They didn't have a transponder. 500s in it. Well, there are the Aussies. Brie on the right and Jamie on the left. And Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium with Sarah Ertz moving into the lead. 53.87, 100th of a second, the difference between their two runs. Now, whatever else you've got to do in bobsleigh, you've got to be consistent. One great run and one shocker don't help anybody.
Eagles is not my favorite.
Yes, absolutely. That you can put a great run down and then have a shocker, and you're back in the field. It's the holy grail of bobsleigh, just to put it down the same line. Good start, good kit, but consistent driving.
I think I better clarify, and I'm sure Anne would as well. She's got nothing against the track, the preparation of the ice, or anything else. It just doesn't particularly suit her skill set as well as some others. Well, next up, Misha McNeil. Had a bit of a mixed bag so far this season. A really good first run in Altenburg. Got her best ever World Cup result out of that. And here in 11th place, late change of brake woman to Alicia Kittle, who's only had one race start this season in North America's Cup with Mish. After her #1 Montel Douglas rolled over her ankle this morning. Getting out of bed's, dangerous pursuit. That was warming up. So the Chelmsford Ninja is on the back handles. Let's see what the girls can do in heat #2. It's been a good track over the year for Misha McNeil's. Silver in the Youth Olympic Games here. She's got bronze in the Junior Worlds here as well. 5.79, that's a little bit better start.
Excellent. That's probably just a matter of timing. With not racing or training with Alicia that much, you get a better timing on the second hit.
Well, that's why quite often the race brake women don't do every day of training, because you've got to have your spares up to speed when you need them.
Absolutely.
In the green over Anne van Nieuwenhuis by 0.3 of a second. 0.4 now. This is building nicely. Oh, little skid down from the Kreisel.
Yeah, good speed, great exit out 9, straight down the pipe.
All right, here we go. She didn't lose too much ground with that bump, so still 0.4 up and growing. Now, can she get up to 120 kilometers an hour in the DHL sled? Going to be close at the line, 119.3, 53.66. Well, again, not as quick as her first heat. Oh, that's not going to go down well. Again, you've got to get on the brakes before the final corner of the track, after the finish line, and then feather them there, and then brake really hard once you get out of there.
You see the back of the sled just sliding off bend 7 there, bend 6.
Yeah, just that little skid breaks away. Hauling on the brakes here. You can see Alicia wrestling with the brake handles. But as you said, because the sleds end up in the same position, the ice gets dug up and the brakes only go down a certain distance.
And luckily, that outrun, once you get off the ice, they've actually put rubber down, so it's not, you won't see the drivers
not concrete.
Losing their cool too much about that, because it's not.
Misha McNeil, our leader after the first 3 sleds. 10 still to go here in Innsbruck. Beautiful views here. It's not a bad place to come, even early in the morning when you have to get out of bed, Graham, is it? You know, pink sunrise on the mountains.
It's fantastic. I honestly think this is one of the most stunning places we come in bobsleigh. It's just, I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
A great panoramic view all the way over the Tyrol there.
Yeah, I was talking to Alex Auer yesterday doing the skeleton commentary, and he was saying all the places you go, you know, the fabulous venues you go to when you're traveling the world, all these ice tracks. He said, but every time I come back to Innsbruck, I think, yeah, do you know what? I live in one of the best places there is. Well, there's Misha McNeil and Alicia Kittle, her brakewoman, currently the race leaders, but with 10 to go. Will they end up with a top 10 finish? So far, Misha, 7th, 4th and 6th this season.
It happens.
There's Coach Lee Johnson.
Get the runner guards. You've got time, you'll get the runner guards.
Good old Lee.
Yep.
There you go.
You hear him before you see him, that's for sure.
So, coaching the British crew. See, again, you know, he knows everything. We're on a commercial break. You don't have to worry about getting into the leader's box. Take your time. Just get everything sorted. Get your ducks in a row. And the same at the top of the track as well. You know, the 2-minute break is engineered in before the final 10 sleds. So the girls come to the line at the right time, so they're not hanging around unnecessarily. Because, you know, -8, -9 out, it's cold and it gets into warmed up muscles pretty quickly. So the girls need to get their jackets on, head to the leader's box, while the Romanians are ready at the top of the track. Quick check of the weight. Every athlete's obsession, because you've got to weigh the sled and the athletes together, and there is a maximum weight you may not exceed. Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Final 10 sleds to go here in Innsbruck in Austria, in the stunning Austrian Tyrol. And Andrea Grecu with Theodora Vlad, her new young brakewoman behind her. Grecu, 25 years old last week, had her best race result by some margin in the European Championships, ending up in 5th place overall in a decent quality field in Königssee. I think, Graham Richardson, that really marks her coming of age. She's been showing some sparks of brilliance, and now I think perhaps everybody realises just what she could do.
Yep, this is, again, a brakewoman who's been taken out of the back of the sled, goes away for a wee while learning the trade, and now you can see she's becoming better and better each week at the driving skills. Her start is good, so they've got all the things they need.
And she's been driving monobob as well, so she's getting lots and lots of practice behind the D-rings in different kit, because, of course, monobob is going to be part of the next Winter Olympic cycle for the women.
Yeah, it's also talking to the Canadian girls who did the monobob. It's a slightly different driving technique as well, so it kind of broadens your vocabulary of driving skills, which is fantastic.
Every day is a school day when you're on the ice. 1/10 of a second ahead. She was 2/10 up at the start. This could be close at the line. 800s, 53.66. The run exactly the same as that of Misha McNeil of Great Britain. So they live on their first heat advantage. And right now, Andrea Grecu is loving life. I think she's feeling no pain at all. Having a really good season.
There you go. She sits quite high. Tall girls tend to do that. The faster you go, the more you want to look forward. So you tend to try and you know, sit up in your seat a bit, which is not the right thing to do. You really have to try and get your head down and get that aerodynamic profile on the sled.
Yeah, and you know, people at home might think, well, what difference does it make? Well, the same reason a motorcyclist gets down behind the screen, because it does make a difference. You can feel it. Next up, Martina Fontaneva of Switzerland in 9th place after the first of the 2 heats. And she was 400s in front of Andrea Grecu, our current leader. We're now right in the middle of a very tight bunch of sleds.
Yep, and local man Wolfgang Stampfer, the head coach of the Swiss, and obviously letting him know the secrets of this local track.
Yeah, he knows all the shortcuts here. Always did, didn't he?
Yeah, he made the sled fly.
Yeah. And yeah, make sleds fly as well as driving them quickly. Fonteneve just with a slender lead from the first heat now, out to 0.2 of a second over Andrea Grecu, so her eyes on moving up now.
Yeah, slightly low line around the Kreisel there, came out with pressure, hit right.
Bit of a sharp on take down there as well, but keeping it clean, speed is good. Gap's down to 1600, she will be in the lead at the line, but it might be in single digits over Andrea Grecu. 1200s, 53.58. So the Romanian girls applaud, Wolfie applauds.
Oh, and there you go. The old takeout there is ever so dangerous. If you get over to that, you T-bone the wall there, and you can see there, hopefully they'll show that again. It's a dodgy outrun, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mileage for blocking off that first gap in the wall, just to reduce possible chances of injury.
Yeah, we just get coming around six, getting pushed across a bit. Pressure out of Kreisel, you can see back of the sled slips away. And a late entrance into 8 means you've got to do a little bit more work to put it back onto the right line. And those little bits of work, those little carvings of ice, are what diminishes your speed slightly.
8th after the first of 2 heats. Second of our Russian sleds is 23-year-old rookie Lubov Chernik, with Yulia Bestomenik behind her. Her 9th World Cup, Yulia. Her best result, 2nd place in Sigulda, with the other Russian driver, Nadezhda Sergeva. Chernik, brand new to the World Cup this year, only her 3rd season sliding on ice. 5.66. They were 100th ahead of Fonteneve from the first heat. They lose that 100th in the start. That tiny little bit of loss of momentum early on will haunt them for the first few corners.
Yeah, you can see there, if you see the runner tips, you can see there's just a slight rearranging of the line in the straights. It can sometimes help you, but it's obviously you're moving the runners, so you're slowing the sled down slightly.
100th of a second in it. Oh, a little clatter on the wall, and she gets dragged down the wall as well. 116 kilometers an hour, decent speed. Misha McNeil fastest so far, 119 at the bottom, 118.8. She takes the lead, but again, the gaps here are absolutely tiny. Surprised nobody's actually changed positions so far.
And it's another trip to the rubber.
Yeah.
There we go.
And again, rubber isn't particularly that damaging. It's the grit and whatever that's in the rubber that probably doesn't help.
Yeah, exit 9 there, you can see comes round too far, doesn't open up the steering soon enough into the wall, and then get to slide. But fortunately, she had enough velocity in the sled that that didn't really hurt her that much.
The problem with watching it in slow-mo is it's so obvious. When you're watching it in real time, you can barely see the mistakes. They're so tiny.
And I can assure you, when you're in the sled, it all happens pretty damn quick as well.
Absolutely right. Lubov Chernik, the leader from Martina Fonteneve. We have 7 sleds to go. We're going to have a Russian leader at the end of this run because Lubov Chernik leads. Next up is Nadezhda Sergeva, her teammate, 800s quicker. First time for Yulia Egoshenko behind Nadezhda Sergeva. Egoshenko has pushed Lubov Chernik so far this season, so the Russians, like the Germans, like the Americans, like the Canadians, swapping around the brake women and the drivers, trying to get the ideal combination of weight, speed, power.
Yeah, Sergeva takes a very, very free line in corner 2 there. Most people tend to try and straight line it and come around with a bit of pressure, but there's a definite different line that Sergeva takes around there. And she seems to bring a bit of speed.
And you wonder whether that's a driving style or whether that's forced on her by the runner choices they've got available to them, or a combination of the two.
Well, and you find that, you know, different coaches will have different programs. You know, on a track like this, you tend to look and see how the Austrians are doing it, because you know they'll given it some thought.
Yep. 2200s up Segever. Little wild down at the bottom as she was in the first heat, but that's a good run. 53.36. What did she do in the first heat? Oh, 53.36. Exactly to the 100th off a 100th of a second faster start.
So this is it shows that the track's holding up well. The track's stable, which is it makes it fair. We like a track that stays stable for us.
Yeah, and in these temperatures, it's always likely to. Big smile from Nadezhda, and it shows that her kind of loose style in the first heat was replicated in the second.
Yeah, that's definitely a program.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the Russian for let it fly is, but
What's the Russian for hammer?
Yeah, well, she gets off the hammer anyway. A little bit of airtime there. So closest to us on the left there, Yulia Egoshenko and Nadezhda Sergeva. Our leaders, we have a Russian 1-2 with 6 sleds remaining. First of our 2 US sleds in the field today, Brittany Reinbold with Jessica Davis behind her. Adrian Adams with a final couple of words of encouragement. So again, the US trying to mix and match the driving, braking combinations. They've got a group of new, young talent on the back handles. Getting everybody races, keeping everybody fit. Because, like with the Canadians and everybody else, the focus of this season is Whistler in the World Championships.
Yep, and it gives everybody, you know, race experience, and this is a race where just got caught up a bit on the way in there.
But again, it shows you just when you see a tiny little error like that, how hard it is actually to vault into the sled while also trying to push it forwards.
Of course, and the driver as well has to think about, you know, getting in, getting your feet round the steering ropes, getting the start handle down. They make it look quite easy, but there's quite a lot to think about getting into a sled. Yeah,
try it one day when the sled's stationary and see how long it takes you to climb in. All right, 700s a second back on Sergeva, and that gap is opened up now to a 10th. And Brittany having a much looser run than the first heat.
Yeah, see there in 9, just missed the first steer, tried to pick her up at the end.
So losing ground to the Russian at the moment. She's on for second spot. There's nearly a quarter of a second between the 2 Russian sleds. But Nadezhda Sergeva moves up, 53.54. I know they're, you know, hard bobsleds and everything, but somebody give those girls coats. It is -9 and they're hot and sweaty in Lycra. You know, it's a little tough. So Sergeva, best result of her World Cup career came in Sigulda in second. Brittany there getting hooked up. And now she's already starting to drop into the sled. So now she's got to stand on the back of the tiny little seat rest, get herself back out, get her feet in.
Yeah, and all the time that's going on, of course, the brake woman's going, I can't get in the sled yet, can't get in the sled yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a missteer there at the beginning of 9, just brings you up on the end, a hit and a slide.
So high fives from Brittany, low fives as well with Jessica Davis. Nadezhda Sergeva still our race leader with 5 to go. Kati Bile and Jennifer Onosanya for Austria. 4th place finish last weekend in Königssee and a European Championship bronze medal. Now, can she build on that? Christina Hengster, a former teammate, is here this weekend working with the Austrian TV for their live broadcasts. 5.63.
And that was the first bobsleigh we've seen get pushed out. The grooves are actually pulling to the right a little bit. And when you come out of the grooves, it pushes you over to the wall before 1, which messes 1 up. And unfortunately, Kati got hooked up on it there.
800s ahead of Nadezhda Sergeva from the first heat. She's going to need all her Austrian shortcut know-how to hang on. Gap's down to 100th at the Kreisel. Nice. Well, Graham, so often we see races won or lost in the lower labyrinth. It looks like that might be her only opportunity now.
Yeah, it was either velocity at the start or that small mistake, which is just taking a bit of speed out. I said this is going to be real close.
200s behind and at the line, 200s behind. The Russians move up a second spot. Hans-Josef Hoffmann, a wry smile there. Franz Josef, it wasn't a bad run for Kati Bile. Second place means she's guaranteed another top 6 finish. So Katy Bale, 5th in the World Cup standings.
Only just gets a left hand on the handle there as well. I wonder if they'll run this on and show us.
Again, watch that choreography on ice. Just gets her knee hooked up a fraction on the cowl. Jennifer gets in behind her, and then the sled just drifts to the right out of the spurs. So Nadezhda Sergeva leads from Katy Bale and Brittany Ryan-Boltz. That's the top 3 with our 4 final sleds yet to come. 4 to go in Königssee, in Innsbruck in Austria, and we have 3 German sleds in the top 4. Can they all claim medals here? Well, it's down to Anna Köhler and Leonie Fieberg, her brakewoman, to make up a 1600ths of a second first heat disadvantage to the leader. How much of that can they find? Well, they start by going 400ths of a second quicker at the start. Now, the rule of thumb, 3 to 1, means that could be 1200ths advantage by the bottom if she doesn't give it away.
Yep. Sometimes a little bit less here, but interesting that I've not noticed before the way she peers over the side of the bump in the sled there. It's quite funny.
Well, again, she's not the tallest of the German girls, and she sits very low in the sled, so she's looking around it like a Florida granny looking over the centre of the steering wheel.
And I'm sure that the people at FS, we look at her doing that and going, well, you know, we put that there for a purpose, and it's to deflect the air over the driver's helmet. So looking around it is probably not making them overly happy. Well,
either she has to do that, or they've got to widen her eyes, and I think looking around the keel is probably the less of the extreme options. 53.21 for her. That's a really good run. Again, 100th away from her first heat. So for all the fact that the weather in training was very different, they only had 4 training runs, only 2 days of training instead of 3, and the ice today is very much quicker. Everybody seems to have got their head around it really, really well.
Yes, they've all got the feelers. It's not a difficult track. It really is one of the tracks that you can come to a couple of times, and you dial yourself in. Whoop, hammer as well.
Swooping out just a fraction late, carrying it too much onto the wall of the track.
You see, not panicking though. You get some people who you go towards the wall and you try to steer away, break it into a skid, and it makes the problem twice as bad as it could have been.
On a track where you don't steer very much, panic steering does not help you. Stephanie Schneider, last year's winner with Annika Dratzek. And Stephanie starting here with Ann-Kristen Strack behind her today. Lying in 3rd place after the first heat, but to all intents and purposes, it's almost a dead heat in the top 3. 3 sleds covered by 600ths of a second. Can she claim her 2nd win of the season after victory in Winterberg? 5:49, again 400ths quicker at the start, so every single fraction of a second count.
Yeah, good line through these top corners, not getting onto 3 too soon and getting pushed away.
2900ths up over teammate Anna Köhler. She was a 10th up from the first heat. That's a big advantage. Best speed so far, 99 kilometers an hour. That's almost a full kilometre an hour quicker than her teammate in an identical sled. This could be Stephanie Schneider heading towards potential victory here.
Oh, she's putting a good run together here. Not oversteering it, he's letting the thing fly.
Good run, great speed from Stephanie Schneider, 52.96, the first sub-53 run of the competition. That might be enough to win this. It is so tight. That was a huge second run.
Yeah, an impressive increase in the start as well.
And when it's this tight, Ann-Kristen Strack, the brakewoman, she knows even if she can somehow force 1 more 100th, that could win it.
Exactly, because that 100th is 2 or 3 at the bottom.
And even if it's only 1, that might be the difference between first and second.
Yeah, again, on 9 a tiny bit too long, but not panicking. Let the sled hit the wall. Try and get a parallel bump on both bunks. Sit the sled back into the middle of the track, and the problem's finished with.
She was just looking at 10, and the sled followed the eyes. René Spies likes that one a lot, and rightly so. A man who knows all you need to know about driving a 2-man sled. Two to go. Our Olympic champion first. Our reigning world champion will go last. Mariama Yamanka, 3 wins in the World Cup this season. None of them, though, with Kira Lipperheider, the 18-year-old rookie, born on the 7th of February 2000. She's had 2 Europa Cup races in her career, and that's it. So it's her first World Cup start with the Olympic champion, and they are 500s out of victory. 5:54. They go faster than their first start as well.
No, it's a good fight. Both teams pushing faster at the start than the first run.
Well, if you had to bet your shirt on Schneider, Yamanka or Myers-Taylor, I think you'd be a rash man to gamble on any one of them here, because they could all so easily win this. Yamanka in the red by 1200s.
A small mistake out of 5 there will have cost her a bit of time.
I think that shows what a great run Stephanie Schneider had. Yamanka's not going to find 1200s in the rest of this track. Little tidier than Schneider. Still 1200s back. Speed at the bottom. Schneider 121.2. Not enough. Yamanka 1100s back. Schneider now in the driving seat. 53.08 from Mariama Yamanka. 53.09 her first trip. Schneider's made the difference. So 4 races into the season, only 2 winners. This woman's won 3 races, and our current leader has won the other one. Well, Yamanka, originally from Berlin, now lives at Oberhof. Not a dissimilar track at all, is it?
Yeah, you just hung on to 5 a bit too long and ended up going a bit late into 6.
Again, you know, tiny errors that you can really pick apart in slow-mo, but it's the tiny errors that make the difference here. There's her brake woman, new face to the World Cup, Kira Lipperheider. So Stephanie Schneider leads last year's winner. The winner 2 years ago, Alana Myers-Taylor, last to go. Can Alana take her first win of the season? She's had 2 third places and a second, DQ'd in Sigulda out of a potential podium run as well. Sylvia Hoffmann behind her. This will be a first win of the season for Alana, a first win for Sylvia Hoffmann. Alana needs a really top draw effort, Graham Richardson. 5:52, 300s quicker than their first heat.
Yeah, went a bit deep into 1 though. We'll see how that is. She's in the red.
Wow, 800s behind Stephanie Schneider. Alana with just 2 trips in training, sitting in the sled. She felt so wretched earlier in the week. She actually went to hospital for blood tests.
1100s coming back in a bit. Bit too early off Cryers again. Oh, down the right side.
It's getting away from her. 1400s back. She's not going to recover this disadvantage. Alana Myers-Taylor. The question now is, where will she finish?
Yep, late off 10. Hit before 11. Just a bit behind all the curves in the labyrinth. This will be costing her 119.
She was second. She's third at the line. 53.19. It's another podium finish, but it is victory for the 2nd straight season here in Innsbruck for Stephanie Schneider of Germany. Alana Myers-Taylor and Kerry Jones finished in the silver medal last year. She finishes in bronze with Sylvia Hoffmann. And Mariama Yamanka and Lisa Marie Buchwitz were bronze medalists last year. Yamanka and Kira Lipperheider take silver, but pretty much errors from Alana at all the possible opportunities.
Yeah, just a bit of a loose run there.
Well, with only 2 runs in practice at lower speeds on very different ice, perhaps not a surprise, but she remains a podium contender every time she comes out. So Stephanie Schneider there on the left, and Kristen Strack. They are our winners here in Innsbruck. And it wasn't just that she cleaned up a couple of mistakes, Graham. She put down an altogether different run in the second heat.
Yeah, it was a really clean run. Faster at the start and just keeping it nice and clean. You build speed where the others make small mistakes and it stops that build-up of speed. And there you go, a great second run to take it.
Yeah. A very tight first heat, and she made a big step forward in that second run. Stephanie Schneider wins for the 2nd year in a row here in Innsbruck. Mariam Jumanka in second, Alana Myers-Taylor in third ahead of Anakola Nadezhda Sergeva moving up to 5th position, and Kati Bile, the hometown heroine, in 6th spot. So our World Cup rookies, the Aussies, finish in 13th position, and that is their sliding season done. Great to meet them for the first time here, and look forward to seeing Australia's bobsled programme continuing into next season. Well, I said it was going to be tough to bet on any one of the top 3. They could all easily have won it. Jumanka made a couple of errors, Alana 3 or 4, but actually Stephanie Schneider went the other way. She ironed out what tiny little errors had crept in the first run and really laid down what in Innsbruck terms is a real smoker.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be close, and of course in the midfield there, where we said, you know, there's kind of 1500s between 5th and 9th. It's real close.
Yeah, very close stuff. So there's Alana Myers-Taylor and Sylvia Hoffmann, and already being interviewed by the German broadcasters. Our winners, Stephanie Schneider and Kristen Strack, came from 3rd to win it, but the gap's only 600ths of a second, so tight. Jumanka downloading to the radio network, undoubtedly, or perhaps a PR man on Matthias Höpfner's phone. And a beautiful view wherever you look around here. Lots of people out skiing, enjoying the weather. It's a bright, cold morning.
Yeah, they had the UCI World Cycling Championships coming up the hill past the track just a few months ago.
Yeah, this is quite a place for road racing, I should think. Lots of climbs. Feels like it when you're walking up and down the track even here, and it's one of the old-fashioned tracks, but when you come from Königssee, where you barely seem to go uphill to get to the top, and then you start ploughing up here, it's a very different sort of a mountain. So next week we go to yet another gloriously scenic location when we head to Samoritz for the last European race weekend. It can be interesting to see who fares best there. Very different kind of track, from the shortest to the longest, from one where you do almost no steering to one where you do a lot of sightseeing on the way down as well. Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's World Cup is done and dusted. Mariam Jumanka, the Olympic champion, still leads, but our 2-time winner now, Stephanie Schneider, moves up a little closer on her heels. Anakola still 3rd, Nadezhda Sergeva in 4th spot after another good run from the Russian, and Kati Bile in the top 5 for Austria as well. Brianna Walker adds her name to the point scorers, with the Australians making their World Cup debut. But Graham Richardson, top draw effort from Stephanie Schneider, the best run of the competition.
Yep, a great run. The second run, absolutely fast start, fast finish, great drive down. And I think we're going to have a similar, very close, very tight race in the men's this afternoon.
Well, you and the men making your final appearance in the World Cup here for a while as you head home to Calgary for pre-World Championships training. What's the plan then? When are we going to see Canadian sleds back on World Cup, or is it just going to be when we get to Whistler?
Well, no, we have the Canadian Championships in Whistler, so we can do a bit of tweaking on everything for a couple of weeks there, and then we'll be joining the World Cup circuit again for Lake Placid and Calgary.
Excellent. All right, look forward to that. North American Trail, easy for me to say. Lake Placid, Calgary, and then the World Championships in Whistler. It is a tough life sometimes. Really, you know, hard. If you're feeling any sympathy at home, please don't. It is not a tough life. It is one of the best jobs you can find. Down there is the Olympic city of Innsbruck, the host of the 64 and 76 Winter Olympic Games. And you can see why it's one of the jewels of Austria's mountain regions here in the Tyrol. There are our race winners. Big smile for Ann-Kristen Strack, and on the right, Stephanie Schneider, Anna Myers-Taylor, and Sylvia Hoffmann. And there, Mariam Jumanka, and the new kid on the block, Kira Lipperheide. You see what I did there? That's your top 3 here in Innsbruck in Austria. So 3 wins this season for Stephanie Schneider, 3 for Mariam Jumanka, 2 for Stephanie Schneider, and all of Alana Myers-Taylor's finishes have been on the podium. I'm sure she will hope that in St Moritz she's feeling a little more healthy and stronger, and St Moritz is a track that always plays well for her as well. But the German women's bobsled programme is looking very strong too. So that's it from round 5 for the women's bobsleigh. A week from now we'll be in St Moritz in Switzerland for the last European race. My thanks to Graham Richardson for words of wisdom alongside after a 12-year hiatus from the commentary booth. We'll be back with a 2-man competition this afternoon with Anne van Nieuwenhuis calling the action alongside me. Until then, from me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, we'll see you then. Bye for now.